Hey guys, Sarah Ansboury here today, and I've got member questions. So subscribers, thank you for sending in your questions. We love them. I got a whole stack here basically on spin. So various questions about spin, topspin, slice, grips, all that kind of stuff. First thing I want to say, I have literally just filmed an entire series course for my members.sarahansbury.com. So a lot of these questions are much more in depth, okay? And when we're talking about different shots and also drills, check out my membership site. Those are much more in depth on how to answer some of these questions, how to work on some of these things. But I do want to touch base on a few things that I feel are pretty important. And one, the question I get a lot is, how do I handle spin coming at me? Hey, if I've got a heavy slice or a heavy topspin, any of those types of things. What's really important about anything, creating spin, managing spin, redirecting spin, all these types of things, grip is really important. Contact point is really important. Okay, so most often players struggle when a ball is spinning into their paddle, especially farther back, because their paddle face is closed towards the ground. Okay, so this is an open paddle face, this is closed. So once the face of the paddle is pointing down, that is going over the ball. So if I've got, let's say, slice, okay, coming into my paddle, it's often going to actually counter and pull right back in. So what's really important is when I know that that spin is coming at me, number one, I need my lower body to be stable and able to keep my paddle in front. I don't want to be running into that ball or falling back, any of that kind of stuff. So once I see that spin is coming, I want to make sure my paddle face is in front of me, number one, and it's open. Okay, so if that paddle gets back here, that's going to cause a pulling action that kind of counters it and creates errors. Okay, that's really important. So a lot of it can be absorbed and redirected by simply paying attention to the face of your paddle and really engaging your lower body more. And that means weight forward. Okay, you want your body kind of leaning into it. You don't want weight onto your heels. Okay, you want to be able to kind of catch it and not try to overdo it. That's what a lot of people do. They try to create excess when creating that ball. Okay, now another thing to think about, because I got a little questions in here about I hit a lot of flat balls, I have trouble creating slice and topspin. That is actually usually related to your grip, but also your non-dominant hand. So if your non-dominant hand hangs at your side, the tendency is people like manipulate their paddle with their thumb or their elbow. So that causes a lot of whipping and flat motions. Okay, so we always want to use the non-dominant side of our body so that we're creating proper contact. Okay, we want to remember the basics, okay, of slice and topspin. Number one, topspin, it's low to high. Okay, so you see a lot of tennis players. Let's say I come from tennis. You're hitting that classic tennis player contact point and grip where it's a little bit over, and basically we're having to hit that ball on the side more. Okay, this is a little bit more difficult to manage with a pickleball paddle because you really have to make sure your paddle doesn't go over the ball too quickly. Okay, so I'm going to kind of grab a ball just so you can see it. Okay, so if I'm kind of got like more of a tennis player style, okay, so my grip is not a continental, but it's kind of like this over here. Okay, that ball is now coming over like this. All right, so when I'm hitting that topspin, the goal is I'm brushing up on the ball. Okay, now a much simpler way to think about it, okay, especially in pickleball, is I want that paddle face, okay, open in front of me, so that actually lifts the ball. That creates a low to high motion, which generates topspin without creating that brushing over ball. So that's really important. Let's say if I'm making my contact here on the side of my body and I want to hit a topspin shot, someone hits a slice ball, now I'm basically countering the exact same spin. That often pulls it back into the net. So if I have an opponent, let's say, that's got like that tennis grip and they are hitting a heavy topspin drive, I'm often going to slice my return to make it more difficult to manage that shot. Okay, so remember, it's low to high. That's the basics of it. So what we're really looking at is the angle of the paddle on contact. That's your priority. Okay, so from a classic on the side contact, we're looking at kind of this angle. Now when we're looking at in front of us, now we're still creating a good angle that lifts it low to high, but without that going over the ball. Okay, so the percentages of clearing the net are much, much greater. Okay, now what we're looking at, what's the basics of slice? High to low. Okay, it's just the opposite of what we're talking about. So in all of these shots, whether it's tennis player style, non-tennis player style, what we're really thinking is where's the tip of the paddle on preparation. Okay, so if I'm hitting a classic kind of tennis player shot, I'm going to drop the tip of my paddle on the side and lift. If I'm hitting topspin, I'm still dropping the tip of my paddle. It's just lifting from here. Okay, now with slice, we want the tip of the paddle up. Okay, so I basically think I want the tip of the paddle to come up to my ear or my chin. Okay, so now the angle of my paddle is coming under the ball. Okay, so now that's your brushing motion. Notice that my elbow is fully extended. Okay, that, especially on a dink, is what creates that consistency, okay, and the length that we want off the ball. So it's not a chopping motion when we're developing that spin, it's more of a brushing motion. So if I've got that slice that I'm getting on high to low, it's underneath the ball. Okay, so also pay attention, this non-dominant hand. What I'm using my non-dominant hand is to kind of pull the paddle back, so I'm not pulling the bunt or the elbow of the paddle to go this way. I want that brushing motion down. So now my arms are moving in opposite directions. That creates more length on my shot. Okay, so at the same time, when you're developing that topspin shot, I don't want to just be open like this and my body square, because that's going to lock my wrist backwards and my shoulders are here. Okay, so I want my non-dominant side to kind of create the space in front of my body so that it's lifting from here and creating the angle that I want on contact. Okay, so again, spin is a lot of topics, and this is probably one of the more important things to remember about spin. When you hit the ball properly, okay, spin's actually going to naturally happen on its own. Okay, so this is where good technique comes from. So a lot of players, they're trying to hit spin by chopping. This is where tennis elbow comes from, and it kind of pops the ball and gets kind of crazy. We want to use our shoulders, okay, and we want to use the lifting of our body, our weight transfer, and our contact point, number one. That's what generates most of the energy for us. Okay, at the end of the day, simplify. Okay, it's not that insane, it's not that stressful. As long as your paddle is in front of your body, you can pretty much do anything. That's what matters. Okay, when my paddle's back here, that's where trouble ensues. So utilizing both hands, okay, right or left, to move your body, turn your shoulders, and move your paddle the right way. Okay, don't forget, way more options for you. Check out the link below, members.sarahansbury.com.